Guys, welcome back to the program. Well, Trinidad and Tobago and St. Vincent seem to be among the first set of countries to be hit by the US aid pause, which was done under instruction of President Trump through an executive order. Now, US aid goes to many countries around the world. So it's not only the Caribbean, but we depend on a lot of foreign aid to do a lot of projects back in the region. Right now, I know 11 countries so far have US aid programs going on in the Caribbean, but these two countries are the first I'm hearing about on a pause on the project. At least they have stated so publicly. Let's go to Trinidad first, where they're saying that Trump pulls the plug on TT Defense Force training. And America First policies cut disaster training dollars for Trinidad and Tobago. Like I said, we depend on the US aid for a lot of training programs, a lot of things in the Caribbean. It says from the Trinidad Express, United States President Donald Trump, America's First policies have begun to hit home. Sources confirmed yesterday that the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, which has benefited from training programs with the U.S. military, has been formally notified that the training for its TTDF in civil military coordination and disaster relief, which was due to start on January 25th, has been cancelled. The training was to be done under, of course, the auspices of the U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency. The cancellation has come following Trump's issuing an executive order last Friday placing an almost blanket suspension of all foreign aid, which extends to include grant aid assistance programs. Sources said that while in Trinidad and Tobago, the Defense Force was the largest beneficiary over the years, the TNT Police Service has also been the recipient of assistance under this program. So not only the Trinidad Defense Force, but the Trinidad Police Service has also been the recipient of assistance under this program. They're saying, in fact, the TTDF was told, or the Defense Force in a correspondence, that the IMET International Military Education and Training courses with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force would be affected as well. It said the cancellations of the programs were because of the executive order placed on a 90-day freeze funding. And of course, the executive mandate is put in place to do what the United States say, a reevaluation and realignment of U.S. foreign aid. And this is the first local assistance program for Trinidad and Tobago to be affected by Trump policies. Like I said, about 11 countries in the Caribbean, I know at this point in time, there are projects funded by US aid. So we will wait to see which other announcements are being made by these countries. In St. Vincent, it says US aid freeze could derail Southern Grenadines project. So now we turn our attention to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In the Grenadines, which was hit hard by Hurricane Beryl, Myro and Canawan, a number of warehouses were being built for disaster preparedness. Additional warehouses were expected to be built, and $4 million US was already approved for the building of these facilities. And of course, with the stoppage of the US aid, or the pause on the US aid, the projects now are in limbo, I would say. So US aid freeze could derail Southern Grenadines project. And it says the United States freeze on nearly all foreign aid assistance for 90 days impact the construction of additional warehouses intended to enhance disaster preparedness on two Southern Grenadine islands. On Sunday, St. Vincent's Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves announced that the U.S. authorities, via their armed forces, had sanctioned several $1 million for the project. Gonsalves articulated that he is anticipating elucidation on whether the ban on foreign aid extends to these projects as well. It says, quoted, the U.S. had approved $4 million to put some additional warehousing facilities in support for disaster preparedness in Canawan and Myro. And we're looking at particular parcels of lands that we can use. I'm waiting to hear whether this ban on all foreign aid coming out of the United States issued by the Secretary of State Rubio applies to this. I know it applies generally, but there may be an exemption for something like this, Gonsalves says. Now, of course, you would have known that a meticulously crafted memo was disseminated on Saturday to over 10,000 personnel at U.S. aid, and that provided additional clarification to Friday's stop work, the directive that instituted comprehensive halt on U.S. foreign aid across the globe. So the government of St. Vincent is waiting, as the Prime Minister said, for elucidation or further elucidation on this matter. But as far as we know, the U.S. is saying it's putting a halt to all U.S. aid projects taking place around the world, except, I think, in Israel and Egypt. Military issues are ongoing. So that is where we are as of now. And so we now know that the Trump effect, as people are calling it, are starting to hit home in the Caribbean. I know yesterday some folks called me out of New York and said they were packing their bags and heading back to St. Vincent. They're there for a number of years and did not get documentation, and they know that they would be booted out, so they are packing up and coming home. And of course, I advised a couple of friends who told me what to ask me what to do. I said, look, if you're gonna get kicked out, might as well you come home before they kick you out. Walk with what you have, send home your money, and that's it. So that is the reality that we live in. This is the new world that we live in today. This is the reality of it, and there's not much we can do about turning the hands of time on this one. The people of America voted for Donald Trump. He said what he was going to do in an election, and he's living up, as the people would say, to his promises. And as one American commentator said, you can't wrong him for being an honest politician and keeping his promises. A lot of people are angered with that, but that's the way it is. Guys, leave your comments in the section below and continue to subscribe and share the channel or the information. I have this video coming up this evening about the pressure that is on for the Caribbean. But what I understand, some information I gathered is that people, while they'll be sending back persons home to the Caribbean, whether you commit a crime or you're there illegally, and when I say illegally without documentation, I understand that other persons of different nationalities would be in the mix coming back to these islands as well. I don't know what agreements, if the governments have agreement with them for that, but I have a piece of information to talk about with that, which you would like to hear about. So this afternoon, look out for that video.